Great. Welcome everyone to Strategic Career Planning webinar. I want to welcome you with Daniel Mueller. This is going to be a great webinar. You're going to learn a lot about strategic career planning and how it affects your future position and your current position and future positions. We just ask that you would silence all cell phones, emails, anything that would distract you away from what Daniel is presenting, because you're not going to want to miss any of it. And I encourage you to stay until the end. We have a special offer for those of you who stay to the end that I think you're going to want to take advantage of. So we welcome you. Please make sure you hold your questions till the end. We'll answer any questions that you may have towards the end. We will be doing some polls, so pay attention to those, and we encourage you to participate. Thank you for being here today.
Sure. Monique, thank you. And what I would add to that is that this is a 30-minute webinar, and I could easily do an hour and a half worth of content delivery for you, but we're doing it in 30 minutes because this is an executive level briefing on strategic career planning for leaders. So we're going to move very fast. The content is very rich and thorough, and we're going to send this deck to you for participating. We're also going to give you some other resources and tools for participating, and that will help you to execute on what we're going to be suggesting today. There is no sales pitch. There is no here, buy this thing. We're giving this away free, and we want you to be benefited by this and to help your career. So that's our motivation. If we can give you some rich content and some rich information about how to manage your executive career, then you'll think kindly of us and send us referrals and introductions to executives that are looking for either an executive leadership coach or an executive career coach. And I would be more than happy to entertain your referrals. Okay, so with that, what I would say is that there's a chat feature in this Zoom, and you're welcome to send questions now, anytime during the webinar, and we'll organize those questions and be ready to answer those at the end. So feel free, as you go through this, if you have a question, just send it in the chat, and Monique will be organizing those questions, and we'll answer them in about 25 minutes. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to share my screen, and this is a deck called Strategic Career Planning for Leaders. Strategic Career Planning for Leaders came about 15 years ago. And what happened was I had been a coach for about 15 years. So I've been doing this executive coaching now for 31 years. And I noticed a pattern. And I've always coached people younger than myself. I'm older than myself. So I was 30 at the time, and I'm coaching 45 and 50-year-olds, sometimes 60-year-olds, and I'm watching them go into retirement. And I saw those that failed and did a terrible job and those that succeeded, and I just learned from them. And so since that time, I've seen hundreds go into what I now call portfolio life. So portfolio life is also known as semi-retirement. So what you do after you stop doing a full-time job. Now, sometimes you find yourself in portfolio life in between executive roles. So you may be 40 years old, a company is sold, and you find yourself in between executive roles. You're looking for another executive role. You're too young to go into semi-retirement. You got too much energy, too much drive, too much ambition, but you're in between roles and you start doing portfolio type activities. So this is relevant if you're in your 30s, your 40s, your 50s, your 60s, or your 70s. Strategic career planning for leaders. Let me just show you this next slide. So multiple streams of interest and multiple streams of activity make for a rich portfolio of activities after you're finished with full-time work. What should you do when you retire is the question, and the answer, it's a bad idea. Within 6 months of not doing anything, dullness sets in for the typical executive. And again, we're not talking to the normal human being. Executives are abnormally wired. You've always known you're abnormal. Well, let me tell you why. You have this little ever-ready bunny built inside of you that says more, better, better, achieve, achieve, achieve. And that overachievement tendency is oftentimes one of the key markers of an executive. You want to achieve more. You want to stretch yourself. You want to take on that next level role. That's oftentimes what it takes to become an executive, is to have that drive inside you. So it makes sense that that drive is just not going to disappear when you're stopping and work a full-time role. And so you have to feed that drive. So retirement is a bad idea. What's a good idea is this diversified set of activities. So just like you diversify an investment portfolio, you should diversify your career portfolio. And when should you start doing that? Now. Now is the time, wherever you are in your career, to think about diversifying your career, and to add to your career a diversified set of activities that is beyond just your full-time job, and prepare you for that eventuality where either you're going to be in between roles someday because you have an exit, or you quit, or you get fired, or any variation on the theme of you're in between two roles, or when you move into semi-retirement. So it's a smorgasbord of activity, and we'll get into more of that in a minute. But the question is, what is your strategic career plan? Where are you going? What I find ironic is that you guys, and you men and women, spend a whole lot of time in strategic career planning, strategic planning for your businesses, but you do very little of strategic career planning. So you don't plan your careers. You let recruiters or you let companies plan out your career for you. And so you're more at the effect of. So you're reactionary. So something comes along, you take it. You sell your company and you're in between roles, and somebody persuades you to go do this other thing, so you go do it. Instead of being intentional, sitting down with paper and pen, or in this day and age, an iPad, and lining out what are you going to do long term. So if you don't have a written career plan, it's dangerous. The older you get, the more dangerous this is. And so I just have a question for you. How many of you have a written career plan currently? And Monique, can we do a poll?
Sure.
And the first poll is this: are you starting to plan for a portfolio life now? Yes or no? Are you starting to do planning for a portfolio life now? Then the next question we're going to ask is, do you have a written career plan? Okay, next slide. So planning starts with the end in mind. What does that mean? Well, you want to have both long range and tactical vision. And I learned this from an executive that hired me in 1987 to be his executive career coach, John Paget. John was running a 2,000 employee company called Interlogic Trace in San Antonio, Texas. And John passed away last year, so I'm not broaching any confidentiality of the relationship. And I've coached John. I did coach John for about 25 years. And then John came to work for me full time as an executive coach on the Solid team. And by the way, anyone who's interested in working as an executive coach on our team is welcome to email me. Let me know that you're interested. In-place executives are just fine. You can do an in-place executive role, and you can do executive coaching on our team at the same time. So the question, do you have a written career plan? 100% of you said no. 100% of you said no, not a written career plan. Most don't have a written career plan. Anyway, so John hired me to be his executive career coach. I had no idea what career coaching was. I had to research it, and you're going to find out today a little bit about what it is. But I would say this, that executive career coaching is a science, and it's really the science of helping people to find a new executive role or grow their careers. But you need a roadmap. So if you're going from Dallas to Denver, it's a lot more difficult going via LA or San Francisco. There are direct routes. So the 3 steps to the process of developing a strategic career plan. 1, define your long-range goals. So we're going to talk about long-range goals today because portfolio life is about long-range thinking. We're also going to define what mid-range goals mean. And then next, you should define what you're going to do after your current role. So 3 steps: long-range, mid-range, and then current. I call that reverse engineering. But before we get to exactly how to do that, let me talk about sweet spot. Because the question often comes up, Daniel, what should I go do? And I look at their resume, and I've looked at thousands and thousands of these, and I've had this discussion with people about what should you go do? Well, here's the answer. There's 4 key indices that I call sweet spot. You should hit your sweet spot. These 4 indices are, number 1, the natural direction of your career. Where's your career going? Where has it been going? What is the natural momentum you have in your career? 2 is your soft skills, your greatest soft skills, which also will lead to you exploiting your greatest talents. 3, your natural or proven abilities. What have you been proven to be able to do? You've been proven to be able to function in a Fortune 500, or you're proven to be able to function in a startup. You know, those are very, very different. I've seen executives coming from the Fortune 500 going into startups and failing miserably. Top talented executives, and vice versa. Those that are more entrepreneurial going into a large corporate entity and failing miserably. So that's just something to consider. But the most important indice is passion, your greatest passion. And the older you get, the more important passion becomes. So you really want to hit the sweet spot of these 4 indices: natural direction of your career, greatest soft skills, proven abilities, and greatest passion. If you hit your sweet spot, what you're going to find is amazing things happen. And you have better vision, you exploit your talents, you have greater power and authority, you have a greater sense of purpose. And this diagram would be useful to explore in a coaching session. And you're going to find that we'll offer everyone who stays to the end of this webinar a free 3 series of coaching sessions where you can actually meet with me and do a little work on your career or on your leadership skills. There's a definition of terms here. We're not going to get into those. Again, we're going to send you this deck. Your homework in prep for a coaching session with me would be to review this deck. Bifocal career planning. You need to have both short-range tactical vision, job focus, I call it, and then long-range vision, career focus. So you need a strategic career focus all the way out into portfolio life. And so if you were trying to manage your career, what I would say is this. If you're looking at making a career move, and many of you are, in fact, we'll do a poll in a second to see how many people are satisfied with their careers. But if you're looking to make a career move, the first step is look at portfolio life. What do you want to do in portfolio life? Then take a step back. What do you want to do in your next, the role after your next role? And then when you figure that out, what you should do next is going to become much clearer to you. So toward a portfolio career, let's talk about this. It's a very important diagram. Let's break it down. So bottom left, you see there's a job focus. This person is focused just on their job. Heads down, buried. I cannot tell you how many executives I've coached that are totally job focused. So far, I've had 1,350 some odd coaching engagements over the last 31 years. A significant percentage of those engagements, I would say my clients have been singularly job focused. That's all they're doing is their job. Now, they have thoughts about sitting on boards, for example, but they remain in the thought level, not actionable, and they're not doing anything about it to get on boards. So they do job after job after job, and then at 60 or 65 years old, they're hiring me saying, Daniel, I'm at the end of my full-time career. I want to go into this portfolio life you talk about. I want to start sitting on boards. And my first question is, well, great, how much board experience do you have? And they say, well, I don't have any. I've been doing a really good job, though, of being CFO of this company or CIO of this company. And I'm saying, okay, great, but your competition are other CFOs and CIOs and CEOs that have been sitting on boards for the last 20 years. Where have you been? So getting on boards now, if that is something that you want to do in portfolio life, would be a really smart idea. So let's just say that this person comes to the workshop, says, yep, okay, I get it. I've got to get on boards. So they hire a career coach, and that coach helps them to start sitting on boards. Wonderful. They get on a for-profit board and a nonprofit board, and they're able to continue doing their job. And then what happens? Maybe the company gets sold, and they find themselves at 40, 45 years old, some such, middle of their career, in portfolio life. So they're looking for a full-time job, but they're able to actually look at getting on another board or two, do some speaking, writing, teaching, consulting, because maybe that's their interest, all while they're looking for a full-time executive role. So they're dabbling in portfolio life. Or let's say that this person is 60 years old and they had an exit and they made themselves $5 or $10 million. And now it's like, okay, I've just taken my last company public. I am now finished. And they're 60 years old, and this is the first time they've ever said that. I am done. And I laugh because I know they're not done. And they go into portfolio life, and I help them to start sitting on boards and speaking, writing, teaching, consulting, all that. And lo and behold, something comes along that is compelling that they just can't say no to. And I call that unsuccessful retirement. So they take a full-time job, but the difference is now they're looking at it more like a project, not a full-time career move. So they may be full-time, but they're doing a 2-year gig. It's a turnaround or it's a high growth, merge this thing with another entity, do a roll-up. Who knows what they're doing, but they still get to keep their board seats. They still continue maybe doing some speaking. Maybe they're doing one coaching engagement through us or through another executive coaching firm. Eventually, though, that ends. And at some point, every single one of us will end up in pure portfolio life where you're just doing a set of portfolio type activities. You're fractional. You're doing a little bit of this and a little bit of that. That's smorgasbord. Now, this journey is a journey from getting to giving, from growing your net worth, growing your career equity to a place where you're giving back. And that's why I love to work with men and women that are in this stage of 50, 55, 60 years old, and they're really starting to give back, and they want to leave legacy, and they want to leave the world a better place. And so it's less about making money, although that's still important, but it's more about building for the future generations. So it's the give back phase of life. It's a very rich time. Now, here's a sample of activities that people do in portfolio life. And it's a short list. So this list was developed over the past 15 years that I've been giving this webinar. And this list is the typical things that executives do in portfolio life. Interim leader, 1 day a week, 1 day a month, whatever. Board member, sitting on for-profit or nonprofit boards or publicly traded company boards. Advisor to boards, advisor to senior leaders. So being an advisor is different than a coach. An advisor is a subject matter expert giving advice. A coach is a very specific methodology to grow, say, the leadership skills or help with a career transition. There's different kinds of coaching. We'll talk about that in a little bit here. Capital formation, deal making, etc. Professional services, very common to hang on a shingle and be a consultant or be a coach. I help a lot of people become consultants and coaches. Entrepreneurial ventures, doing a startup, purchasing a company, capitalizing on an invention, whatever. Family interests, working in a family business, helping a child with their business, getting it off the ground, etc. Also very popular is speaking, teaching, and writing. There's benefits of a portfolio lifestyle, and freedom is the #1 benefit. There's also more time for personal. There's some obstacles, and I can help people overcome those obstacles of getting into portfolio life. Often the fear of the unknown is the biggest obstacle. So people hang on to working a full-time job too long because they're afraid of creating this fractional life for themselves. But it's really easy, especially if you have some help. Sabbaticals, it's okay to take time off. But again, remember, after 6 months, dullness sets in. So here is a roadmap for advancing your career. And I have a question for you. How many people are dissatisfied with their current job? Monique, could you do a poll?
Yep, there it goes. Are you satisfied with your current career or current role?
So how many of you are satisfied with your current role? Now, generally, we get about 50-50. And sure enough, the numbers are coming in. And looks like it's 54% are satisfied, 46% are dissatisfied. So, Monique, we keep on getting these same numbers over and over. About half of the participants are satisfied with their current role, and half are not.
Yep.
So if you're not satisfied and you need a career coach to make a career move, you should get one. Roadmap to advancing your career. So there's 8 steps in the process of advancing a career. You have to do this either with or without a coach. Orientation, learning how to use a career coach if you're using one. Assessment, getting a thorough and accurate assessment of where you are right now and where you're going. And then setting goals and having that plan that we just talked about. Tools, best possible resume and bio that really amplify your goals. Networks, having effective networks, interviewing, best practices of interviewing, and using a coach is recommended for interviewing best practices because you just can't role play with yourself, and a spouse is not going to put you through tough paces. So in summary, you should dabble in portfolio life now. Experiment. You should brainstorm with a solid coach or others of activities like what is it like to sit on a board, or what is it like to be a coach, or to be a consultant, or to start up a company. Next, assess where you are today. Assess where you want to be in 5, 10, 15, 20 years. Develop a demanding written, and I'm going to underscore written, career plan. And then I really do believe in career coaching. I've personally provided career coaching for about 700 executives of my 1,300 engagements over the past 31 years. And I've seen every single one of them just really blossom and bloom with their careers. I've never seen, well, I've one failure. And I told this person that they just didn't have what it took. They really wanted to become a CIO, but they just didn't have it. They were too tactical. They couldn't be strategic enough. They couldn't delegate. They couldn't let go. And so I said, you really need to, rethink your career, because you're just reaching for the stars, and it really is a fantasy. I didn't say it as tough as that. So hire a career coach. Now, let me say this. Some of you might be interested in career coaching. And I think we have one more poll to ask that question. Is that right, Monique?
Yes, we do.
Okay, let's do that. And we'll give you a gift certificate to experience 3 complimentary coaching sessions. We'll give you 3 30-minute free coaching sessions. Or we'll give you an hour and a half of total time. So we'll give you 1 30-minute and 1 hour, or an hour and a half all at once, whatever you want. But it's free sessions to help you to figure some stuff out, whatever that is. And so if you would like, let's see, looks like most would like a gift certificate.
And that link to book your call, which is the fastest and easiest way to do that, is in the chat. When you click on that link, I just want you all to understand that you're going to be taken to a form. We're just going to collect some information to make sure that you are the kind of qualified person that Daniel needs to be talking to. So if you'll just fill out that form, it's really fast. And once you submit that form, then you'll be taken to Daniel's calendar to book. You'll be sent an email directing you to his calendar. And that is the easiest and fastest way to get on his calendar.
And what Monique means by qualified is that you have to be an executive, a true executive. I'm sorry, but I just don't work with anyone but executives. So just know that if you're an executive, I'm here to help you. If you're not a true executive, I'm not the right guy for you. Now, I do have other coaches that do work with junior executives or emerging executives, wannabe executives, director level people, second line managers. But I work with VPs, senior vice presidents, C-suite executives, and CEOs. Okay? And board members. Okay, so we have this 8-step process. Now, we're going to give you, as part of this engagement, an entire toolkit. And this toolkit that we're going to give you is an orientation to career coaching. You're going to get all these tools. You're going to get an assessment suite of tools that'll help assess your skills and abilities. You'll get some goal setting tools. Also some resume, bio, elevator speech, cover letter tools. Also networking tools, and interview best practices tools, negotiating tools, and onboarding tools, which is really, this is leadership coaching 101. This is how to grow your leadership skills. And this is for executives starting a new role. And let me just give you the stats. 1 out of 5 executives starting a new executive role gets fired or quit in the first year. 20%. All the studies are between 19 and 21% fired or quit first year. So I'm just rounding it off, 20%. 1 out of 5 fired or quit in their first year. I just had a session this morning with one of my clients. He's CEO of a $50 million company that is likely to go public next year. And we were talking about one of his executives, and it's clear that there are some concerns for that executive, and that executive just started. So the question is, are you going to be effective in your new executive role? How do you start your new role? There's some great resources, some great materials. I'll give you all those as well, included in this package. You'll also get just a little blurb about Solid Leaders. And this deck has a high level. There's a high level about me. And then there is this diagram that we're going to finish on. So we're going to give you a gift certificate if you want. to experience coaching. There's three main types of coaching that you're likely to want to experience. Now, I'll tell you about two others in a second, but the main three are either getting a new role, which means career coaching, that's our track, onboarding coaching, which is starting that new role, or leadership coaching, which is growing in the role. The two others that we do, portfolio life coaching, which means, hey, Daniel, I want to prepare for portfolio life now. I just had a CIO who I helped get a CIO gig 2 years ago hire me. He's only 50 years old, but he's gotten vision for, I want to start preparing now. So he just rehired me, and we're working on getting him on boards and some other things. The fifth kind of coaching is practice development coaching. So that's for professional coaches and professional consultants who want to hang out a shingle or who want to grow their practices. Okay, so Monique, we're done. I'm going to stop sharing my screen, and then we have a bunch of questions. Yes?
I don't have any questions. People were asking where the form was. I put that in the link, so y'all should, in the chat, so everyone should see the link to the form.
Well, Edward says, I missed how to make contact for the complimentary coaching session.
Yes, and I just put that in there again, so everyone should be able to see that. Okay. We know there's a new message. Best way to get, Alex says, thanks, best way to get in boards, question mark.
You mean on boards?
On boards, probably, yes.
How do you get on boards? Well, you know, it's difficult. So the best way to get on boards is to have a very robust network of board members and CEOs. So if you're networking at the right level with board members and CEOs, then you're likely to be asked to be sitting on to sit on a board. One of the other ways that you can do that is networking with recruiters that specialize in recruiting for board seats. And there's recruiters out there. In fact, I coached one, Kelly, who is one of the world's best executive recruiters. And she does about $3 million a year in her book of business. And all she does is recruit board members for PE-backed companies. So there is ways of doing that, but it's difficult, and it's almost a catch-22, right? You have to have board experience in order to get on boards. So how do you get board experience? It's tough, but I'll help you. Okay. We are 4 minutes over time. I'm sorry we went over a few minutes, but thank you all for your time and your attention. And I wish you all the best. And I hope to meet some of you soon. Thank you, Monique.
Thank you. Have a good day. Bye.
Have a good day, everyone.